Hi, good morning everyone to the board of Ethical Trouble Holdings. So my name is Jonna. I'm your ethics specialist for today that will present the issues that we highlight in this report, the need for robust ethical framework that includes case guidelines and accountability measures. So for Ethical Trouble Holdings, you have faced significant ethical compliance challenges since 2022. So what I'll be presenting you today is the summary of my report. So you have with you the full report that I prepared report and the plans that we will discuss for today. So first, let us have a quick review of each cases for the four quick cases that you are facing so far regarding ethical non-compliance. So this review of misconduct and reasons why it happens. So let's go through one by one with the cases and we can proceed. So first case is this case of Mr. Movasagi. So the allegations for him is the clients reported in signatory forgery and conflict of interest were not disclosed. So I have here the detailed allegations for him from 2015 to 2016 where there is an forgery, negligence, and failure to act prudently on his job. So what are the reasons for his misconduct? There's a lack of oversight, allowed unethical practices, inadequate supervision, which leads to the mismanagement. So the ethical violations that he did was but he violated the integrity and fairness. It's compromise in dealings. Professionalism was breached according to the PF Canada's Code of Ethics. So another case that was another case that we will review is about Brian Walter Wilkinson. So the allegations for him is the company concentrated in high-risk investments. So he concentrated only on high-risk investments. So it mislead the clients by failing to disclose the associated risk. So the client doesn't know the risk. So the misconduct reason is Wilkinson did not adhere to the fiduciary duty, leading to poor decisions. So meaning he did not act to the best interest of the client. He prioritized only his personal gain over the client's interest. So he did not, because due to um concentration in high risk investments, he only decided that he will invest all in here, not considering the factor that the client will lose his money. So ethical valuations in here is he breached the client first principle, compromising trust, integrity was undermined through misleading practices, and then client's interest, his actions directly harm the client interest and trust. So the case highlights the critical need for ethical compliance. So another case was with employee Mr. Roger Gebhardt. So allegations with him is not disclosing the conflict of interest and servicing accounts of deceased clients and making false statements. So if you could see in here, Mr. Robert Gerhard failure to inform IPC of any client's debt that he was the spouse, for example, his spouse appointed as estate trustee and beneficiary. He continued to manage clients' accounts as they are alive. So clearly there is a fraud happening in here. And then continued account management, non-disclosure of beneficiary status, false statements, and violation on MFDA rules. So Mr. Roger did a lot of misconduct. And the reasons for this is the lack of transparency in client dealings, failure to follow regulatory requirements, and the ethical violations is the actions breach objectivity in client relations. There was a violation of professionalism according to the ethical standards. And the last case was the case of Michelle Kammerman, which Michelle Kammerman failed to report unethical behavior involving another CFP professional, compliance professional. Specifically, the failure to disclose the conflict of interest. She violated the rules established by the OSC regarding the professional conduct. So specifically, Miss Michelle Kammerman failure to report the violations of the Code of Ethics and the Rules of Conduct between 2014 and 21. So he knew that there's another CFP professional engaged in significant violation, but she never reported it to the board. So there are violations that happens in here. So it's because there's an absence of effective whistleblowing mechanisms. So I think the company doesn't have any whistleblowing mechanisms, hindered her ability to report the unethical behavior. There was a widespread failure to adhere to establish professional standards within the organization. So ethical violations that there is her actions breach integrity, which is essential in maintaining trust and the financial profession. Additionally, she neglected her professional responsibility by not addressing the observed unethical conduct. Now let's go through it's because of the review of the cases, how it happens. Let's go through the weaknesses in the existing compliance regime of the company. So we have highlighted the weaknesses. First weaknesses is the ethical training deficiencies. So it's been like observed that due to employees lacks adequate training on the ethical principles, there is also lack of training leads to violation of fiduciary duties. So another weakness is supervision gaps. So there is insufficient oversight of employee activities. This has resulted in significant ethical violations such as forgery and mismanagement. There is also evidence of whistleblowing weaknesses. Employees do not have clear channels to report unethical behavior. This lack of reporting mechanisms prevents misconduct from being addressed. Aside from that, there is a risk management failures. The firm has not developed a comprehensive risk management framework. These oversights has led to poor assessment of high-risk investments and enforcement inconsistencies. The firm does not consistently enforce penalties for ethical violations. The inconsistency has allowed repeated misconduct among employees. So we have identified these gaps in the company. So what will be our recommendation to strengthen ethical practices? So our recommendations to avoid these future issues upon ethical choice is we are basing this upon ethical choice. So we have to connect with the theories that our recommendations. So first recommendation that we have is to enhance the ethical training. So we require ethics training for all organization staff concerned with the fiduciary duty, so conflict of interest and professionality and responsibility. So here, virtue ethics emphasizes the cultivation of moral character in training any employees to the ethical principles to the heart. The firm will encourage and emphasize of ethical integrity and professionalism. Next, we have to strengthening of supervision and oversight. We recommend to strengthen supervision of department to ensure regular audit of the client and accounts and transactions. So this is based on the ontological ethics, which is concerned with the rules and duties that must be obeyed. The firm should empower by providing strict compliance with ethical and regulatory standards. Next recommendation is establish whistleblowing mechanism. Establishing a secure and anonymous whistleblowing system that will allow employees to report unethical behavior without fear of retaliation. So there should be this whistleblowing mechanism. This is based on the ethical theory that the greatest good for the greatest number. Forcing whistleblowers to remain silent is harmful to clients and firm freedom protects against this. So this is based on utilitarian theory. So there's another, which is enhanced risk mitigation practices to build out a conflict risk management system which evaluates risk related to client investments. So this is based on the stakeholder theory that emphasizes the responsibility to all stakeholders, including the clients. This is how proper risk management protects the interests of the client. And then lastly, the company should impose uniform penalties for any wrongdoings. Make clear that what consequences of ethical transgression would be from suspension to fines to mandatory retraining. So this is based on the justice theory or theory of justice that is primarily about fairness and accountability. It also maintains fairness among employees, and everyone gets to face the same standard of rules and penalties. So basically, these are all here. These are the summary. I'm just explaining that these recommendations to strengthen ethical practice is very important to impose to avoid future issues, and these recommendations are all based on the ethical theories that we mentioned a while ago. So next, these are the ethical theories in their application. I will give you a brief summary for this. This was in my report. So uh, I will explain that this was very important to impose together with the company's rules of compliance. First is the virtue ethics. So it's training fosters integrity. How important it is to train fosters integrity and moral character. This enable ethical actions without external enforcement. Deontological ethics, strict adherence to rules and duties is crucial for ethical behavior. This ensures that employees prioritize ethical conduct over personal gain. Utilitarianism, protecting whistleblowers, enhances overall well-being for clients and employees. Effective risk management prevents harm to the firm. The stakeholder theory, which is prioritizing the interests of the stakeholders, is vital for responsible operations. The approach ensures that the client's interests are protected. And then the justice theory, the consistent reinforcement of penalties is necessary for fairness and accountability. This ensures that all employees are held to the same ethical standards. So this were with the comparison of ethical theories to explain further to convince you that these theories are very important to incorporate in our ethical practices standards for the company. So the ontological ethics is focused on adherence to rules and the greatest good for and utilizing greatest good for the number. Ensures employees prioritize ethical behavior and over personal gain, promotes strict compliance with ethical standard, grounded in the principle of doing what is right, regardless of the outcome, while utilitarianism protects whistleblowers to promote transparency, aims to prevent harm to clients in the firm, and maximize overall well-being for stakeholders. So this shows how important these theories are. So next, let's have a milestone for implementing all these recommendations that I have mentioned a while ago. So, on the first quarter of 2024, let's launch an ethics trainings for all of the employees. On the second quarter of 2024, create an anonymous whistleblowing system. And then the third quarter of 2024, let's target to develop a risk management framework. And then on the fourth quarter, let's implement an enforcement policy for violations. So in that way, our ethical compliance will be strengthened. Also, for the total summary of the key points, so the ethical framework, it is the robust ethical essential for preventing misconduct. So the case studies or the case already that we have, it's illustrate the significant ethical violations involving employee misconduct. And then the system weaknesses, we have identified the weaknesses leading to repeated ethical violations. So we have the proposed solutions as well that we discuss, recommendations including enhanced training and established whistleblowing mechanisms, and then our ethical theories. Now let's go to the conclusion and the call to action. So let's implement the recommendations. The recommended measures are essential for addressing the ethical challenge faced by the firm. These actions will create a stronger compliance regime and foster an unethical culture. So let's also uphold the reputation. Strengthening ethical practices is crucial for maintaining the firm's reputation in the industry. A commitment to ethics will enhance trust among the clients and the stakeholders. Also, to prevent future misconduct, implementing these recommendations will give significantly reduce the risk of future ethical violations. A proactive approach is necessary to safeguard the interests of the clients and the firm. And also board support is needed in this. It is very necessary. It's very important. This will not happen without any board support. So the board support is vital to the successful implementation of these measures. Together, we can build a sustainable and ethical business model. So that's it. And thank you so much. I will send the report to everyone so you can have a look and let's discuss further. Thank you. Thank you.